Okay, kids, it's time for another episode of the Fueled by Weird podcast, the only podcast where pirates and ninjas can coexist for now. I'm Chris Daly, and today I have the pleasure of chatting with the founder and CEO of Metal Ninja Studios and writer of Dusk County Chronicles, Joel Rodriguez. Joel, how's it going this morning, man?
It's fantastic, Chris. I'm excited to be here. I've been trying to get on with you guys in a while, and all I had to do was hire a guy to help me do it. Um, really, that jokes a knock on me, not you guys. I'm horrible at social media, so I say I was trying, but really I don't do social media at all. So I had to hire a guy to help me out with social media, and the first thing he says is, "Hey, I'm gonna get you on with Chris." And I said, "Yes, let's do it."
Yeah. Yep, Blake's a great dude, and I'm glad we could finally make it work. We're glad to have you.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, usually we like to kick off the show when we're meeting somebody new with an icebreaker question.
Okay.
So, today's icebreaker question, if you had the power of teleportation, where would you go?
Hmm. That's a good one. I would
Yes.
probably go, since it's just to visit, I'd probably go to Japan.
Nice.
Huge fan of anime, obviously.
Yeah, same.
And ninja, obviously, all that stuff. But yeah, I'd love to go visit Japan, but it's not a place that I'd like to live. I'm surrounded on three
That's fair.
sides by water. Living in Florida, I like to keep the fourth side as an escape route. So,
Fair enough. And now that I know you're a fan of anime, we're gonna have to have a whole separate conversation because we have a whole nother show where we talk about anime and we don't
yes.
get to talk about enough anime. So we'll definitely have to hit you up for that in the future.
Oh, I'm down.
So for me, if I had the power of teleportation, kind of a little bit cheesy, but I've actually got family on my dad's side that live in Wisconsin that I like
Oh,
never get
nice.
to see ever. So I think
Yeah.
that'd be fun to go visit them. Shout out to Kathy, Mike, Tom. Hi guys, love you guys, and everybody else. So yeah, I'd
S-
go visit family.
See, see, now I seem like a horrible person because all my family
Ah,
up in Michigan's like, what the hell?
nah, you're good. Yeah, I've only seen these family probably like twice in my entire life, so it's
Gotcha.
I don't get to
Yeah.
see them very often. So, but it's good though.
No, that's a good cause. It's a good reason.
Yeah,
I respect that.
thank you. All right, so with the concept of fueled by weird, it's basically all the things that you're into, whether they're nerdy or not. They're all the things that make up who you are, or what fuel you're weird. So, what are some of the things that you're into that feel you're weird?
Um, my main things are basically described in the company name, Metal Ninja Studios. Metal, I spent a few years as a guitar performance major in college because I love metal music and
Nice.
wanted to play guitar. I realized that I was nowhere near good enough to make a profession out of it. So when I decided I was going to propose to my girlfriend, now wife, I said, all right, I have to get a real job. So I pivoted, became an accountant, realized how much I hated it, and then decided, you know what? I'm going to go do something that's even less guaranteed and make comic books. So that's a long story short how I got into comics. And then Ninja, because I am an avid obstacle course racer, which is
Oh,
basically
nice.
American Ninja Warrior plus mud and running.
Oh, wow.
And then studios because of the comics, whether I'm making my own comics or helping other people make theirs, helping my team reach their goals as it relates to creating comics. Just diving into the world of comics is one of those things that feels my weird. So
Very
I,
cool.
I managed to capture it all within one title before I knew that any of it was going to matter.
That's perfect. That makes it easy. Now,
Exactly, exactly. That
now you
that
said you.
one.
Oh,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say that one decision that I made randomly in the shower one day has paid off so much in the coming years.
That's awesome. Shower thoughts are the best sometimes.
They really are.
Now you said you're a fan of metal. As a fellow fan
Yes.
of metal, it's nice to find more fans.
Yes.
Who's your favorite band?
Metallica.
Nice. That
Classic Metallica. Best album and Justice for All, hands down.
oh, that's a good one. Yeah, that was definitely my
Yeah.
gateway into metal, and I still have a soft spot
Yep.
for them. I think if I had to pick one now, though, I think Kill Switch Engage.
Ooh, nice,
That's
nice.
that's a good one for me.
Have you heard Lions at the Gate?
I have not.
New band. You should go listen to them. The majority of the members have been around for a while. They were in one of my other favorite bands, El Nino.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
I've heard them.
so that band split up due to some complications and
Yeah.
just legal issues. But Christian, the lead singer, plus two or three other members went and started a new band called Lions at the Gate, and they just dropped their first album.
Nice. I'm definitely
Yeah,
gonna write that one down. That's
it's
awesome.
awesome. I
I just
recommend it. It's amazing.
I just heard of a new band named Oni, Oni, because Howard Jones that used to be with Killswitch did a song with them,
Yeah.
and they're pretty
Oh,
incredible. That's a new favorite band that I just discovered. So that's a good one.
and,
Howard Jones
and
is I
I
love
I
him.
know you're listening to his new band.
Oh, Light the Torch.
Yes,
Oh yeah. A
so good.
huge Howard fan. I love Howard so much.
Honestly, I kind of stopped listening to Killswitch when he left, except for the one song where he came back.
Oh, that song is so good.
It's so good.
It's it's criminal how little he is in that song because I really
Yep.
think we should have featured them both more together.
Yep. Especially since that's how they marketed the song is
Yeah.
both of them together, and then Howard's like, "Hi, I'm here too."
Yeah. I mean, no hate on Jesse because he's a great singer. I just
Yeah.
Howard is just so good.
Yep.
All right. So we could have a whole conversation about that, but we're getting off topic. Let's shift into I first want to talk to you about how, everything came together with Metal Ninja. Like how did you, decide I mean, you kind of decided you pivoted from being an accountant to kind of creating your comic book studios.
Yep.
How did that all kind of come together?
So I hated my time as an accountant. I can't even necessarily pin one thing that I didn't like about it. It's just it wasn't for me.
Sure.
And I decided that just for fun, I would try to write a comic. And I went to conventions. I was asking around, doing what people do, trying to figure out how to do it because
Yeah,
education in this industry is very hard to come by, especially
absolutely.
when you're starting out just um, trying to figure out even where to start.
Yeah.
It's either you spend a lot of money on something that may be a hobby and you do nothing with it, or you grind your wheels try or screech your wheels for months trying to figure something out. So I did that approach and I found a suggestion of submit to anthologies if you want to be a writer, and that's how I was going to start in the industry. So I looked for anthologies online and at conventions, found one, wrote something, found an artist. Again, same thing. I'm saying this fast, but it took months.
Sure.
Found an artist and submitted our story. It got turned down, and I think the story is great. It's one of the first stories in the Dusk County Chronicles called The Fiend in Me. And basically, it's what if Toy Story was a slasher? Like, I open my pitch with that for years, and everyone
Yeah.
gives me that reaction. They start laughing. They're like, this is awesome.
Yeah, it's
So,
awesome.
so I had the idea, or I had to figure out if I was going to shelve it or continue to do something with it. And obviously, I decided to keep going, and that became the Dust County Chronicles. I said, I wrote one short story, I can write three more, make a comic book. Um, and then I printed an ash can with the first two stories, only 50 copies of it, took it to a local show that they were having at a comic book store, and said, all right, this is going to be my beta test. If I don't get any traction, then this isn't for me. If I do get traction, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
Well, I sold out in all 50 copies in 2 days.
Oh wow.
So I said, all right, may have something here.
Yeah.
Uh, I finished the first issue. We launched on Kickstarter, started doing the convention circuit and all of that. And all this time, in my head, I'm a writer who taught myself the basics of lettering so I could put out my first book.
Yeah.
Basically, I did exactly what I now tell people not to do. I was trying to save money and I skimped out on what is traditionally the least expensive part of making a comic book.
Sure.
Um, well, people started seeing my work and they started asking, well, who does your lettering? I said, well, I do. Oh, will you letter my books too? So, okay. And I started doing that just kind of as a side thing because I've realized that I've really enjoyed it. I've always wanted to do something artistic, hence the music and just pivoting back into comics,
Yeah.
but I can't draw at all. So I learned that lettering was a great way for me to kind of fuse the two, do something creative and visual without needing to be able to draw.
Yeah.
And I learned graphic design as a way to accelerate my lettering growth, and they ended up feeding into each other. And I started offering lettering and graphic design. One thing led to another. I made multiple relationships and connections within the industry, and I got a job at Scout Comics working as a production designer. Worked my way up through there, all while doing freelance and still trying to put out the Dusk County Chronicles. Um, and then I worked my way up through Scout, ended up as their head of design, and did that for about a year or so, give or take, before I realized that my true calling was in the freelance work, and I was needing to put my freelance work to the side and kind of push my clients off to the side, um, instead of giving them all of the attention that they deserve because I was focusing on Scout so much. So I stepped away from Scout, decided to focus on the freelance stuff, and really I never looked back. I was paying attention to the freelance. Everything was going great there. There was one publisher that I started with freelance, which was Merc Publishing. I started with them with Miss Meow #1 on Kickstarter about 3 years ago, 2.5 to 3 years ago. And I worked with them as they built their entire company plus everything else. And Metal Ninja Studios does everything for them in terms of graphic design and production, everything. And as their demand grew, I found myself in the same situation again, where, okay, this is the second time that I've been working with a publisher and they've needed graphic design and lettering work so much that I can't handle it myself. Am I going to pass up this opportunity again or find some way to make it work? And that led to the expansion to where we are now, where Metal Ninja Studios is no longer just me making comics. Quite frankly, I don't make comics very often anymore. The vast majority of my time is spent managing the team. I've got about, I think, 8 people working with me now, a collection of editors, writers, production designers, letterers, um, pretty much the whole gamut, so that everything that we were doing for publishers, we can continue to do while making sure that all of our publishing clients get all of the services that they need. We also have the bandwidth to work with independent creators and start rectifying a problem that I realized about 5 years ago, back to the education part, where it's very hard to learn how to make comics.
Yeah.
So we just recently launched the Metal Ninja Dojo, which is our educational platform where we're giving away free content to help people learn how to make comics. Um, and that pretty much gets us to where we are today.
That's awesome. I mean, I've recently seen all the Metal Ninja Dojo stuff thanks to your wonderful social media manager, Blake. And I think it's awesome because, I personally, I've been a writer for a long time, and I have tried to kind of adjust my writing to the script format, and it's been tough because I've gotten some good advice regarding, switching, because they say, it's really easy to go from, prose writing to scripting. I've not found that as easy as everyone says it is. And so usually when I reach out and say, hey, how do I do this? A majority of the answers I get are just Google it.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's not a helpful answer. And that's a horrible answer, really, because it's like you said, it's really hard to get knowledge in this business because you have to sit and grind and kind of learn it on your own. But it's like, as fulfilling it is to kind of learn it on your own and figure it out on your own, it's not really more convenient, but it's nice when someone who's already done all of that can just like, hey, it sucks going through that. I've been there already. Let me show you how to, not necessarily show you, but let me help you figure out how to do it so you don't have to sit and grind through the mud to get it figured out.
Yeah, it's great that you mentioned that because we actually have several clients who are prose writers who wanted to get into comics. And it's the same thing
Yeah.
where everyone is telling them, oh, it's super easy. And no, it's not, because you go from fluid dialogue and descriptions to where it's your job to paint a picture
Yeah.
to condensing that into a still frame image. And that's a hard that's a hard switch, especially when
It's
you
hard.
don't know that.
Yeah.
Um, and there's a lot of Google it, and even when you Google it, what you come across is the fact that really there's no standardized way to write a comic book script.
Right.
There are suggestions, but
Yeah.
there's nothing standardized. So one of the things that we're working on for the dojo, and this is exclusive content, we haven't talked about this at all, but one of the things that we're going to be releasing eventually is kind of a summary of the different types of comic book scripts and why they differ and why some people prefer one and some people prefer the other, and then our recommended method. And the reason why we're doing that is A, we're a team of people all throughout the process of comic books who have years of experience doing this. And we know from our experience what works best and what doesn't, so that the writers who don't do those other roles will know, okay, well, if I do this specific thing, it helps this person and makes their job easier and thus makes
Yeah.
my job easier. But if you try our method and it doesn't work for you, great. Here's a list of everything else. That way, Google it becomes here's one resource that gives you everything that you need to know about how to write a script, what you need to focus on, what the little minute details are, like the 180 rule, and answer all of these questions before you even know that they're questions that need to be answered.
Which I think is awesome because, as much as, comic creators don't have to say, this is how you do it. They just say Google it. It's kind of like they're just keeping that information like precious to them, and keeping it kind of personal.
Yeah,
And they have no reason, they have no right, they don't have to share that information. But it's
correct.
cool that you guys are doing that because, like you said, you share it with one person and that kind of just spreads and helps everybody, which is awesome. The fact that you guys are doing that, that's incredible.
I I completely understand why they do that, and I can't fault them for it at
Right.
all.
Right.
The problem with the industry, and this is an industry-wide problem that I'm actively fighting against, is our reliance on page rates. Because basically what happens, and this kind of touches into the core values of Metal Ninja Studios. Um, just to touch on them, I can talk about them in more detail afterwards if you'd like, but our fundamental values are quality before quantity, 1% better daily, and service over sales. And all three of those are centered around the fact that we don't really, they are trying to combat that page rate mentality, because what it does is you have letterers, for example. I started as a letterer. I'm going to use them as an example because I'm most familiar with it. And
Sure.
quite frankly, they are among the lowest paid in the industry when you look at a per page rate.
Sure.
So with lettering, they are stuck at a rate because everyone offers lettering. And if I don't like your rate, I'm going to go over here. That not only treats lettering as a commodity to where you have to keep your rates locked into the market, because if you try and go down, then everyone else is going to try and go down, and it's race to the bottom and no one wins there.
Right.
And what happens with that mindset is, okay, well, I need to create all of my special processes, do everything that I can to make this go faster, because I can only charge X number of dollars per page, but I still need to pay my bills, especially if I want to do this full time.
Yeah.
I need to knock out a bunch of pages. So, what am I going to do? I'm going to knock out as many pages as I possibly can, and I don't want anyone to know my secrets, because if they know my secrets, then they'll be able to knock out just as many pages just as fast. And
Right.
now I'm competing with them because they charge the same as me, but they can do it faster. And oh, wait, never mind. They cut their prices, so they're going to do it cheaper. That's not a great way to do it. It's a
Yeah.
horrible way to do it because it causes the quality of comics across the board to decrease, because now everyone has to pump out as much as they can possibly do, to the point
Yeah.
where it's not sustainable. It's not livable. That's why you get a lot of burnt out people, and it's why you get hashtags like comics broke me, because you get all of that because of this race to the bottom with everything being viewed as a commodity. So we actively combat that with how we're doing things, to where we do um, quality over quantity. I am more than happy to put every bit of effort into every book to make sure that we put out the best quality book that we work on every single time. I don't care how many pages we have to do, it's the quality comes first. We're not rushing it out so we can move on to the next one. 1% better daily. What this daily grind does when you're reliant on page rates is you get so stuck in the grind, and I fell into this myself, where you get so stuck into the grind that you stop growing, you stop learning, you stop inventing new techniques, you stop developing new processes to go faster, and then you just get stuck in this mad grind of, okay, I'm going to get as many pages as I can done, but they all look the same because you're just stuck in the rotation.
Yeah.
So everyone on the team has access to education themselves on my dime, because I want the team to get better every single day. And that's what we do. I hold myself to the same standard where every single day, everyone is focused on continuing education. So that way, every book that we do as a team, we are stronger than the book previous. And then last, sales but not service, or service over sales. We offer so many different services as part of our main package that it would be very easy for me to turn into just another salesman, where you come to me for lettering. Okay, well, what about this, and this? And that's not how we're doing things, because we want to improve the industry overall. And how we do that is by providing value outside of what we actually do. Like, you can come to us for lettering, and I'm not going to try and sell you any higher. I may tell you about what we do and see if anything sounds good to you. But if it doesn't fit your story, that's fine. What you're still going to get, though, is you're still going to get access to all of our community, because we're building out. We actually just announced a couple days ago, we're working on this thing called the Metal Ninja Nation, which is going to be an exclusive community only for clients of Metal Ninja Studios. And that is going to give them access to Blake's Buzz and do a community roundtable and a bunch of stuff to foster that sense of community, while also leveraging our marketing strategies and just having access to an entire team as opposed to just one. So one person. So what we do, what we really sell, is a service that carries people through the entire process and makes them feel like they don't have to go into it alone. And all of that is the foundation by which we try and combat that page rate structure. Like, we don't charge page rates. We do project-based pricing because we offer value far in excess of a traditional letterer, and or letterer, insert job role here, because we can work with it all.
Right.
And all of it is because we want to increase the quality of books and the quality of the experience in this industry.
That's awesome. I think it's a great program that you guys are getting together. I think it's really going to help out a lot of people.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's awesome.
And I do have to say one thing that is going to be happening, and this is definitely going to confuse a lot of people, but I would like to explain it. We're going to be announcing probably within the next day or two that for the next 4 months, Metal Ninja Studios will not be accepting new clients. And we're going to be putting a freeze on clients. And the main reason for that is because we want to take the time to build our systems, build our processes, and then as we onboard new clients, take the time to onboard them and make sure that everyone that comes on to Metal Ninja Studios will have that genuine experience to where they all feel like the only client. And the only way that we can do that is if we take our own time away, build everything that we need to make ourselves better, and then present that to the world. And a big caveat to that is one of the ways that we schedule new client consultations is via a consultation where people can book 45 minutes to talk to me for free. Those are going to continue. So throughout this entire freeze, I'm still going to be doing consultations. The difference is that they're not going to end in a pitch. I'm donating my time for people to ask any questions, whatever they want. That way they can still get their questions answered. And when we open up again, if they still want to come back to us, that's great. If not, I hope I'm able to answer their questions.
That's awesome. That's something that I think a lot of people are definitely going to benefit from. So that's very cool that you're doing that. All right, so we got into how the studio was created. Let's kind of talk a little bit about what inspired you to get into writing in the first place.
Okay. Spawn was the comic that got me into comics.
Okay.
Uh, I remember being a kid going through an indoor flea market and I saw Spawn #1 on one of the comic shelves and I bought it way before I should have. I was much younger than the recommended age range for Spawn.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But with the artwork and just that 90s style, I loved it. And
Yeah.
Tom Warzachowski, the letterer of Spawn, has been a hero of mine since that comic. Um, and like I said, I always wanted to do something creative. I've always had stories and I've always wanted to either do something artistic, which, like I said, can't draw, so that was out.
Yeah.
Um, but I decided, okay, well, if I'm going to get into comics, what's the best way for me to do that? And it all starts with writing. So I actually have a story that I've been working on for years. Um, and that started out as plot work. And then, so funny thing, I just had an idea about that story. I can't talk about it, but as we're
Okay.
talking, the idea just hit me. So
Fair enough.
if I'm chuckling, that's why.
No, you're
But
good.
I've been working on that story for years, and I decided, you know what? I'm going to um I'm gonna try and put this out. And I'm when it's the typical, this is gonna be my grand finale, like my Lord of the Rings, my huge epic. And I start looking and they're like, no, start with a 4-page short story. I said, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah,
So that's what I decided to do. And one thing led to another, and here we are.
that's awesome. Now, you had mentioned kind of a little bit that Dusk County Chronicles was inspired by what if Toy Story was a slasher.
Yep.
So when you're getting ideas like that, where when you're trying to spark the creative juices, where do your ideas come from?
So the Dust County Chronicles proper, the main series, and for anyone watching or listening, the main reason I make that differentiation is because there are actually two series tied into one. It started as the Dust County Chronicles, which is a horror anthology series that takes tales you know and love and throws a horror twist on them. And then all of that ties into the Dust County Chronicles Nightfall, which is the issue currently on Kickstarter. And it's basic Nightfall is basically the Avengers of horror, where I take characters from all of those short stories and bring them together for their own 3-issue miniseries. Now back to your question, after getting the context out of the way, all of them are inspired by movies and stories that I loved as a kid that I wanted to see a darker version of, and that's exactly what I did. Like another one is, what if Peter Pan required a sacrifice to enter Neverland?
Wow,
Um, yeah, it gets dark fast.
that's okay.
But basically every story within the first two issues is inspired by something that I love from my childhood and some horror element that I've loved throughout my life. And I take those two and rack my brain back and forth to see how I can get it to fit. And then it fits. And I love each and every one of them.
Very cool. So you take all the characters from, or not all of them, but you take several of the characters from the anthology and you put them into Nightfall. That's how it works.
Yeah, basically.
That's so
So
cool.
in one of the short stories, or two of them actually, in issue #1, there's a their story called Forever Young, where a little girl is tricked by her brother to do something heinous. I'm not going to spoil it because it's a
Sure.
short story. I can't give too many details
Right,
without
right.
spoiling it.
Yeah.
Basically, she's tricked into doing something really bad and then gets taken away. Um, and then there's another story in that same first issue where this girl is driving through Dust County, runs out of gas, goes to this cabin that's hanging out in the woods asking for help, runs into trouble there, and she gets taken away. Well, Nightfall picks up with the mother of the first girl and the sister of the second girl trying to find their missing loved ones. And they are our protagonists exploring the mysteries of Dust County and running into different characters from each of the short stories while trying to find their missing loved ones.
That's awesome. That's really cool how you kind of tied them together like that. Stories that kind of start one way when they have the characters here and they bring them back and they tie them in kind of like a, like a Marvel Cinematic Universe, like you mentioned. Those are very cool. I really like those kind of stories a lot. That's awesome. And I was able to read Nightfall, and it's incredible series, by the way. It's so good.
Thank you. Thank
Um,
you.
and you mentioned it's on Kickstarter right now. Do you kind of want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we're funding the last issue on and I say last, the conclusion to Nightfall, the third issue of the miniseries. We're on Kickstarter through the month of September and I think the first week of October. Um, and we are offering a variety of rewards for anyone that wants to help us bring this series to a close. We have cover art from Chris Mad, Joseph Schmolke, Francesca Fantini, and then our series artist who does our primary covers, Roman Gubsky. We offer a wide variety of different levels for whatever level of collector you are. So if you just want to read the digital copy, we've got that. If you want to read physical, we've got that. If you want medals, you got that. If you want to collect everything, we also have those options. And I'm a big fan of exclusivity when it comes to comics because I started as a collector. So I love having the exclusive little things.
Yeah.
And I always try and one up myself from my previous campaigns and our offerings. So every one is something that people haven't seen before. Well, people can buy the original art from Joseph Schmolke's cover. So if they're Joseph Schmolke fans, they can get the original art, which is awesome. I joke and tell people not to buy it because I want to keep it, but if they buy it, I will send it to them. And then the one thing that I'm really excited about is in our previous campaigns, we offered people the opportunity to be drawn into future issues. Like there are characters who are friends of mine who ended up in the book because they backed that, and then other people that I didn't know backed it and got drawn into the book, and it was a really fun thing. We've had people take it almost every time, I think. Well, with this being the last issue, obviously we can't do that. So I was trying to think, okay, what can we do to kind of one up and improve? And I came up with the idea of people getting their own exclusive covers. And what I mean by that is Roman is going to draw them on their own cover. They will be printed on the cover. They will get the original art for their cover. They will get printed copies of their trade dress, of their virgin variants, of their medals, and then they are the only ones that will have access to their cover. We're not keeping any. We're printing only to demand based off of what they want, and that's it. It is the true exclusive comic experience, and I'm really excited, and I hope people like it.
That's a really cool concept that I don't think I've ever seen really anybody else do before. So that's very cool.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I'm a big fan of doing things that weren't done before, so and now I'm just hoping it pays off and people like it.
Yeah, for sure. Now, we've kind of touched on it a little bit, but to kind of, entice people who aren't familiar with Dusk County Nightfall or Dusk County
Mhm.
Chronicles Nightfall, what's something you could say about it that would kind of just kind of summarize, what the story is about?
The Avengers of Horror meets Cabin in the Woods.
Perfect.
It is a collection of short stories that come together, Avengers styled, into a longer narrative, and it is centered in a geographic location that is secretly run by monsters. So as these people are trying to find their missing loved ones, they get chased by virtually every monster that you can think of.
That's awesome. And if I hadn't already read it, I definitely would be would be into this for sure. I definitely still am into it because I've read the digitals. I definitely think I might have to look into getting the physicals now, just for sure, just because it's an awesome story.
I appreciate that. And
So, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, have you read the original Dust County series?
I have not. I've just read Nightfall.
I'm going to make sure that we get those to you
Okay.
because as it makes me super happy to say that you love Nightfall without reading the original because honestly, that was a huge concern of mine because I built them so intertwined that I was concerned that, kind of Avengers style, if people haven't seen the previous movies, is Nightfall, or read the previous comics, is Nightfall going to make sense? The fact that you haven't read the originals makes me happy, because it does make sense and you still like it.
Yeah,
Yay.
it really
Um,
did.
but once you read the originals, read through Nightfall, and then you'll see all of the different webs that we put in, how everything is connected. And there are so many little different things that I tried to put in that it may end up taking a couple of reads, because every time you're going to see something that you didn't see before. And to
Yeah.
the point where, um, this is a spoiler, but not spoiler. Uh, ugh. This map is the cover for Dusk County Chronicles #1, and this map makes an appearance in Nightfall #1. So even the cover
It does.
is,
Okay. Yeah.
yep.
That makes
And
a lot more sense now.
yep. So even the cover, and this cover also has Easter eggs for what happens in the book. So the honestly, it isn't the best cover when it comes to putting it on a shelf and drawing interest. It doesn't have that thing that makes it pop. But I love this cover because as a writer, I love doing the little Easter egg things. And it
Yeah.
started back with the first issue and extended all the way through all 5. So I'll make sure that we get you those other 2 issues just so you can read
Awesome.
it and see how everything is connected.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And
Of course.
it did make sense as its own standalone story. There were, and I'm not gonna, it's really hard because there's certain things that I did have questions about that I'm not going to spoil, but there are certain characters that were in specific situations and I'm like, how did this happen? So that's good to know that, there's explanation somewhere, but it's not necessarily needed to enjoy Nightfall. So that's very cool. So I want to ask now, you said this kind of wraps up the story, but you kind of, again, without spoiling it, you kind of left the last issue open ended to where it felt like there's still more story to tell.
Mm-hmm.
So after this, what's in store for Dust County? Is it just done? Do you have more stuff planned?
So I have more stuff planned, but Dust County is going to go on hold for a bit because there's another series that I've been working on behind the scenes that I've been wanting to do for a very long time, but I didn't want to run 2 series concurrently.
Sure.
So Dust County is going to go on hold for a bit, give me a chance to tell this other story. And then after that, who knows?
Fair enough. So after this Kickstarter is over, what's next is this new story that you have.
Um, Yes, we are going to be announcing some more Kickstarter stuff in between there.
Okay.
Because one thing that Metal Ninja Studios is doing is, another service that we're offering to our production clients is an opportunity to publish with us via Kickstarter. So we're essentially opening a publishing house. And it's Kickstarter exclusive. We're not doing it to compete with the direct market. We're actually doing it conversely to help people get proof of concept for the direct market.
Oh, I
Um,
gotcha.
so so basically we, um, give them an opportunity to leverage our experience in, participating in over 50 Kickstarter campaigns within the past 5 years. They can leverage that experience and our expertise, and then, fund their own projects under our banner. And well, we'll run the campaigns and fund the projects and act like a publisher.
Yeah,
But if Dark Horse comes to them, or they pitch it to Dark Horse and Dark Horse says, "That's awesome," we're not like, "No, you're ours." Yes, go have fun. Because that's the point. We're trying to build these creators up, not hold them back. So we're going to be unveiling stuff related to that offering starting next year.
that's awesome. Now, if I know you said that you're using it just to, kind of give them a proof of concept for other publishers, but
Mhm.
if they wanted to just stick with you guys, is that something that's an option as well? Like have you guys
Yeah.
essentially be their publisher?
Yeah, we say they come to us for a 5 issue series. We're on for all 5 issues, and we will publish all 5 issues via Kickstarter.
Mhm.
It's just if they want to take it to the direct market, we're not going to stop them. We're
Gotcha.
still the Kickstarter publisher, and that will publish it via crowdfunding, but they're still more than welcome to go to the direct market if they so choose. If they don't, then they can definitely stay with us and we'll publish everything all the way through. But the intention is for us to publish entire series and then take those series to the direct market after conclusion.
Gotcha. That's awesome. All right. Well, I don't want to keep you much longer, so we'll just wrap things up. Um, what's For one last bit, what's some advice you'd give to up and coming creators?
That's a hard one because up and coming creators need to know so many things. So, good piece of advice is book a consultation with me so I can answer your specific questions.
Okay. Fair enough.
Without a pitch, because like I said, we're not even accepting new clients. So that's me just
Right.
wanting to help. Um, but one thing that I will offer is don't be afraid to ask questions. Um, there are so many people who don't know things within this industry that if you have a question, chances are there are thousands of people that have that same question and
Yeah.
don't know where to find it. We, as part of the Metal Ninja Dojo, we're doing a monthly roundtable with the team from Metal Ninja Studios, where we're doing a live stream Q&A. And that's one of the big things. People can submit questions and we'll answer them. And I try to reinforce to everyone that if you have a question, you are not the only person that does. So ask it. And there's
Yeah.
no such thing as a stupid question. It is fear around questions is literally nothing more than fear of looking like you don't know something. And guess what?
Yeah.
You don't. And that's not a bad thing
Yeah.
because if we recognize what we don't know, that's how we grow. And that all ties back to 1% Better Daily, the value for the company, where we have to acknowledge what we don't know and be okay with not knowing it. And that's how we get better and we know
That's great advice. Thank you very. No, that's incredible. Thank you. That's amazing.
Of
Um,
course.
well, thank you for being here today. Really appreciate it. Do you want to take a minute now to kind of just plug the Kickstarter, plug Metal Ninja, plug whatever? How do we keep up with you if we want to find out what's going on?
Yeah, easiest way to keep up is via socials for Metal Ninja Studios. I believe we have it set up via Linktree to you can go to metalninjastudios.com/links and that will give you everything. I say I believe because I am social media is my kryptonite, so I had to hire Blake. We've mentioned Blake over this call a few times, but I had to
Yeah,
hire him to help out with that stuff because I've never been good at social media and I don't even pretend.
it's
Um,
it's it's a tough beast to master. That's for sure.
yep. I didn't even bother. It was funny because all of the growth that I did to get to where I am up prior to bringing Blake on was all just through referrals and word of mouth.
Yeah,
And I never had to do marketing. But then I started expanding the team and I'm like, well, now I actually need to make sure that jobs keep coming in because now it's not just me. Now I've got an entire team depending on me.
yeah,
So I need to look into marketing, but I know nothing about social media. I can do marketing planning and strategy and business development. I can do all that stuff, but
yeah.
Facebook algorithms and all that, yeah, that's way past me. Let me hire someone. And I'm thankful that I found Blake.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that the link is metalninjastudios.com/links. That'll take you to the link tree. If not, you can just head to Facebook and search for Metal Ninja Studios or our website, metalninjastudios.com. If you do want to book a consultation with me to chat and ask questions, you can do that at our website. At the same time, um, if you want something more in a public forum, we do monthly roundtables on Blake's Buzz, which is a podcast that we sponsor. Um, we do it there so that more people can see it. And we also publish weekly blog posts with free education for everyone at our website as well. Um, as for the Dusk County Chronicles, you can find it on Kickstarter, metalninjastudios.com/Kickstarter. And that should also be included in the link tree, assuming that I got the URL right. Um, and that is where you'll find everything that we're offering for the Kickstarter. And we've had a fantastic first couple of days, and we've got, I think, 26 or 7 days left, and I'm really optimistic for it, and I'm excited to get it out to the world.
Yeah, I mean, the world needs to know about this, so we'll definitely help spread the word. Awesome. Now for
Appreciate
some,
it.
yeah, absolutely. Now, sir, now for some housekeeping from us to find this interview, all sorts of other stay up to date on all sorts of geek related news. Check us out at geek-network.com, Geeks AZ on Instagram and Twitter, Geek Network on Facebook. I am CD is weird on Instagram. The music for the show is by my friends band Polygon Horizon. Go check them out on Bandcamp. They're amazing. The logos for the show are by my friends Chris Chandler and Mike Belcher. Great comic book guys. They're great friends. They're very talented. Go check them out. And if you like the show, please leave a review and tell your friends. Like you said, before you brought Blake along, word of mouth is our friend. So, make sure you help spread the word. And remember, kids, to embrace the things that fuel your weird and always geek responsibly. Joel, thanks so much for coming today.
Thanks for having me, Chris.